Jalen Johnson's done for the year. We're going to recap the 11 games on Wednesday in the NBA, and we are going to, at least for the foreseeable future, talk about the lineup changes that we saw as well. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and this is the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, go to LockedOnDaily.com and check out all of the newsletters. Every team in the NBA is there. Sign up, get all the info, jam-packed, stuffed into your inbox. Also, double bang this one and thumb it. Leave comments. Get ready for the NBA trade deadline show. We did the trade deadline stash and trade candidate show earlier today, which you can go check out. And I do encourage you to do that because I want people to watch it. So go do that. It is National Croissant Day. Not croissant. It's a croissant. Croissant. How wanky does it sound? It sounds pretty wanky, but I know that's how it's said. I know that's how it's pronounced in French. I know that. It's hard. If I'm ordering one, I have a croissant. I definitely don't use the hard T, but yeah, you can't fully do the qua. Qua. Doesn't quite work. Anyway, I try my very, very best. Should we just talk news? 2 injuries to update, and you've seen these already. Jalen Johnson, torn labrum, out for the season. We had an extended discussion on Jalen yesterday. I said, I'm not telling you this is out for the season, but there's a chance of it. And if this is a torn labrum, he is done. It's a torn labrum. He's done. That is a 6-month injury. He is, that's going to be, we'll see where he goes. It's about the same time Julius Randle did it last season. Remember, he was a little bit slow in camp, getting ready. So that's about that time frame. It's not good. It's not good, obviously. Now, like I've said in the earlier shows today, we've seen him. We've seen him without, we've seen the Hawks without Johnson. We've seen them without Johnson and Ricochet as well. But my guess is going to be it'll be Krejci. It'll be Ricochet. Hunter will come off the bench. They do not want to start Hunter. They've started David Roddy and Mohamed Gaye in the last 2 games instead of starting DeAndre Hunter because, they don't want to. Larry Nance, they rather at times put him out of the rotation entirely than play him those minutes. I think it's going to be very clearly, could be wrong, Ricochet and Krejci. And Krejci's the guy that I want in 12s. Ricochet might get there. Hunter, we still hold. Gaye, Roddy, Nance, deeper league stuff. And then the next one's the Anthony Davis injury. Abdominal strain. We've seen the oblique ones from Parlo and from Franz. And they were obviously a long-term thing. We saw Pajemski miss a few weeks. They're saying at least a week here for Anthony Davis. The reporting is that it's nothing too serious. They will start Jackson Hayes in his stead. I'm certain of that. What this does mean, though, and we've already seen this a few times this season, when Anthony Davis is out, Max Christie's usage goes up. He's about 14 field goals per 100 possessions normally. It's 20 without Anthony Davis. 21, actually. Big jump. 50% increase. So this, I think, is a time to look at Jackson Hayes, but also inadvertently, and you don't necessarily think this way, but Max Christie. I think Max Christie is a very interesting guy in this spot. Waiver wire trends, because we didn't do a waiver wire show today. We did the full trade deadline stash show instead. So let's do waiver wire trends. They are the most added players over the last 48 hours. Number 1 is Brandon Pajemski, who had been playing well. We'll talk about the Warriors game right at the end of this show, of course, because it is the last game of the day. He'd been playing really well. Josh Okogie got the start for the Hornets. I think he is worth an ad with LaMelo Ball. I should have put that on the update, actually. LaMelo Ball, ankle sprain, reevaluated in a week. So, yeah, not good. We hope that doesn't... I still think there is a buy low on Melo, and his managers might panic a little. I don't think he's done, but it's not good. So, Okogie is someone to have a look at, for sure. The pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Intriguing to see him as the third most added player. I can't get behind it outside of desperation. Lonzo Ball and Ayo Dosunmu, the next two. Zach LaVine's out for the rest of the week. Kobe White did return today, shockingly enough. So those two guys, they're interesting. I think they're worth having for now. And the next one is Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks has been on most added, most dropped, most added the last 3 times we've done this. And I don't normally do the most dropped. Oh, no, I do. What am I talking about? I do the most dropped players all the time. What am I on about? The most dropped player is Nick Smith. All right. Last 2 games were bad, but LaMelo is out for the next week. We'll talk Hornets in a sec. Jalen Johnson, easy drop. He's done for the year. Luke Kennard, I get that drop. Cole Anthony, absolutely a drop. Noah Clowney, he is only a stash. You don't hold him. He's out with an ankle injury. And the last one there is Rock DJ Robbie Williams, who didn't play at all last game. He will have moments where he's useful, but obviously I agree 100% with not considering him to be a must-roster player. We've got 11 games on, so we're going to bang in. And the first one is a game where I think there is quite a bit for us to talk about. We're talking about the Brooklyn Nets and the Charlotte Hornets. The Nets didn't have Noah Clowney, like I said. He's out with the ankle sprain. No update on how long that's going to be. What we do have an update is we're not going to see Cam Johnson or Cam Thomas play for a while. So they went with Jalen Wilson in place of Noah Clowney in that spot. Let's start with Wilson, whose last game was pretty good. And this one, it was like, he played 35 minutes. Jalen, he had 15, 1-1. He has had minute opportunities all season, Jalen. I won't say he's been good. He's outside the top 200 over the last 2 weeks in 30-plus minutes a game. He's a deeper league option. Dayron Sharp pinged a hammy, so if you were stashing him, the good news is you can put him on IL. But yeah, that's not great for him actually producing. And then Trenton Watford did get minutes. Return to action. Clowney was out. He wasn't great in them, 9 and 4 with 2 assists. That's not bad. But I do think there's some deep league appeal here with Sharp and Clowney out now. That's for Trenton Watford. It was actually a really good game from Nick Claxton. We haven't got any of these all season, really. 12 and 8 with 6 blocks. And he shot well, which he hasn't done also. So that's really encouraging because he had been putrid. Obviously, with Sharp going down and Clowney going down, they can rely upon him a little bit more. So that gives you a little bit of a bump. Speaking of a bump, Keon Johnson had 18, 5 and 4, 2 steals and a block. And I just cannot understand how this guy rolls every game. It's all over the shop. Oh, that's really good, that game. Absolutely good. He's the 230th ranked player over the last 2 weeks in 26 minutes a night. So not only does his production vary, but his minutes do as well. He will have moments as being a must-roster player, but it is very hard to see him continually doing that. And then Zaire Williams played 33 minutes. 13, 3 and 3, 3 threes, 2 steals. That's a great line. Again, how do you trust him? You don't. You stream him in maybe. And same with Tosan Ebwanwan, who played 30 minutes. He had 14 and 4. Decent numbers, but I wouldn't feel comfortable with any of those guys. And then you get D'Angelo Russell, who played and started over Ben Simmons and played 22 minutes and had 6 points and took 8 shots. Like, what? But he did have 7 rebounds. He had 7 assists. He had 2 steals and a block. We're still rolling with Russell, but those minutes are very frustrating. Well, I don't think you need to hold on to Ben Simmons. If he's only playing 23, it's not enough. 10, 2, and 6 is okay, but it's not enough minutes. If they jump up, they jump up. But they're not, so you don't. Cool. Got it. Next side, it is the Charlotte Hornets. Lots of changes here. Vasa Micic started in place of, LaMelo Ball. We had Taj Gibson starting with Mark Williams. Oh, hi, Mark. Starting, and Josh Green was out, so Josh Okogie started. Let's start with Okogie, whose last game was really good. He had 9, 2, and 2 with the steal. And again, I will stress this, and I will continue to stress this with lots of players. Josh Okogie's not very good. Very simply, he's not a very good player. He was out of the rotation in Phoenix. He's a guy that if he gets value, it's through big minutes, elevated steal rate, and shooting well above his actual skill level. In this game, he didn't do anything. If you want to have him, I get it. I think it is okay to roster him for the short term, but your hope should be low. Exactly the same as your hope should be low for Nick Smith, because I will reiterate this once more. He is not good at all. He had 2 points on 10% shooting. He did have 2 assists. He had no steals. He had no blocks. He had no threes. That is obviously putrid. We added him. He was starting. We wanted to see where it goes. The caveat was he is bad, and there are going to be bad games in there. Shout out to Keon Johnson. But that's fine. Move on. Drop him. Isaiah Wong, for those in deeper leagues, he had 8 and 2. All right. And Moussa Diabate, if Mark Williams does miss more games, Diabate is who you want. It is not Taj Gibson. Diabate had 13 and 8. And Vasa Micic, 2 locker room trips, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Can't do much more than that. Hit 4 threes as well. He won't do that probably ever again. But with the ball out, I do like Micic over Smith. And then how you want to sort of pass that through with Okogie is up to you. Okogie isn't a good per minute fantasy player as a general rule, though. Just be aware of that. He will have flashes, but he doesn't do it often enough. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. This is a message from the sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes used to be waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. And now taxes, well, that's matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, and everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Is only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Okay, let's do the second game of the day. We're talking the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. We'll start with the Detroit side of this game. Should I tell you the score? No, I'll leave you in suspense. Did I even tell you the score of the first one? The Nets won by 20. In this one, the Pacers win at 133-119. Detroit rolled out the same starting lineup that they usually do. I'm going to start with a reserve player because this is a guy who's just, I don't know, he's just lost his mind over the last few years. There's constant fights with him. I've been so annoyed with this player for years and years. I've been annoyed with the path that the Pistons took with this player for years and years and years. And it's Isaiah Stewart. Because in this one, he came in, he basically started punching on with Thomas Bryant immediately, got a tech straight away. He lasted 7 minutes, 46 seconds. He scored 1 point. He got ejected, and then on the way out, he did a finger gun at the Pacers bench. That's getting suspended. I'm very sure of that. Very. So if I'm in a deep league, Paul Reed, I don't know how long the NBA would look at that, but there is no doubt in my mind that this dickhead came in, he started fighting with guys and then chucked a finger pistol at him. Adam Silver doesn't play for that. Doesn't play with that. I don't know what he does. Does he stand on business? I'm not sure. I've heard kids say that. But we saw the gesture. He's getting a suspension. I'm very, very certain of that. Let's start with the actual good players. Jalen Duren is actually one of those now. 14 and 10 with a block. Good percentages. Elite stuff. Cade, 32, 5 and 9. Great percentages. We love that. And we got a good game out of the thick hogsman Tobias Harris, and that's cause for celebration. 19 and 8, a triple one for Tobias, and we talked about him on the Buy Low, Sell High show. I said, I don't care what you think of him. I don't care how bad you think he is. He is not this bad. It's impossible for him to be that bad. Now, what was interesting here is that in these games, he just had taken no shots. But he took 19 here. He still didn't shoot well, 42%. But that was the thing that was weird. He was at like 13 usage, and that made no sense. So I don't know if this kickstarts him, but it is more in line with expectations. Asar Thompson played under 20 minutes again. He had 10 and 3 with a steal. That's not enough. It's not good enough. I don't think you need to hold on to him. Now, I do get pushback on things that I say all the time. That's the nature of this job. I said, I don't know if it was on here or I wrote it down on Basketball Monster. I was talking about Asar Thompson. I said, look, he is not his brother. And I know people will hold on and go, well, look what he did at the start of last season. It was very impressive. He is not a man. He is I don't know how to even categorize. He's a marginally worse athlete, marginally worse, but he's not the same player. He's very good, but he is not as good. And the context is very different here for Asar Thompson. The players surrounding them are different. And that is context related as well. The coach is different, obviously. It's impossible for me to suggest that Asar is a must-hold player. Leaky Beasley had 20 with 6 threes. That is just the same recipe over and over again. Points, threes. Cool. Timmy Hardaway did nothing. Cool. That's also par for the course with him. On the Pacers, they came back from Paris. They had 2 guys out. Both Andrew Nembhard and Ben Mathurin were out. Nembhard with the back issue and Mathurin with illness. So they started Aaron Nesmith and they started old mate Ben Shepherd. Both guys got over 30 minutes. Let's start with Shepherd. 12 points with 4 threes and 4 assists. That's a really, really solid game. That feels like best case for Ben Shepherd, meaning I don't care. I don't care that he's starting or doing whatever. And then Aaron Nesmith started off his ankle injury, played 32 minutes and went scoreless. People have asked, and there are people rostering him in 10-team leagues and 12-team leagues, and please, for the love of God, you don't need to do that. He's one of the guys the turnover fluffers will love. He'll come in and go, he's actually the 80th ranked player, averaging 6, 2, and 1, but he's got -4 turnovers. So there you go. Absolute W. Yeah? I'm having fun. We're having fun. We're all just having fun. Anyway, Neesmith isn't a 12-team league player. He just isn't. He's not. Don't bother with it. Not worried with it at all. With an Empire out, we got more from Timothy John. McConnell had 14 and 6 with 3 steals. That makes a lot of sense. And we actually got a big Miles Turner game. 30 points. That's all right. No, why did I say Miles Turner? I didn't even mean Miles Turner. I meant Tyrese Halliburton. 30 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists and 4 threes. Elite shooting, bad free throws. But good to get that. While Turner had 24 and 7 with 4 threes. Now, Pascal Siakam's too boring for me to even mention the stats that he had. So I'm just going to pass on that. Now, I'm just joking as well. 37, 6 and 4 with 4 threes. Huge game. Big elite efficiency from Pascal, who is flying. And I have told you that he just bores me for fantasy because there's not a lot to talk about. He doesn't go up or down. We can scrap that part now because it's up. He's a top 15 player over the last 2 weeks. That's a massive sell high. Now, of course, there's limited games for the Pacers because of the Paris trip. But this is a huge sell high for Pascal. So that's when you wanted me to talk more about Siakam, that's it. Way too high. Sell off if you can. Let's move on to the next one. We're talking my mates, the Toronto Raptors. They went down to Washington. They took on the Wizards and they pounded them. 106-82. Taught them the good old-fashioned Canadian values. Good win for the Raptors. They were they weren't able to bring their deck to Washington. I've had similar problems. So they started Ochai Agbaji instead. Grady was ill in this game. Agbaji, I'm not really sure what the people see in this man, but anyway, he had 12 points with 3 threes. He had 3 steals and he played 24 minutes, and once again, I could not care less. I don't think he's an ad in any 10 or 12s. The Shark, Bruce Brown, we'd seen some of his production jump up. Disappointingly, with no Dick, he only, I don't know for sure, but given the stories, I think Bruce does have one. But I mean, without Grady, Bruce Brown played only 19 minutes. Now, it was a blowout, and Barnesy only played 29, but Brown had 10 and 4 with 3 steals, a block, and 2 threes. He's showing the multi-categorical production that we've seen from him in the past. He is okay to roster for now. I still don't love it long-term, but he's okay at the moment. Pirtle had 10, 8, and 6. Barnesy had 24, 4, and 4. Rowan Barrett, man. Real slump going on at the moment for Baz. He had 11 and 3. He missed both his free throws. He cannot hit free throws. His free throws got way worse going to Toronto. I don't know why. Don't know what it was. Maybe it's the maple syrup in the air. I'm not sure. Something got worse for RJ Barrett with his free throws, and they haven't really recovered. I do not drop him. I would not be dropping him. But it is slump time there. And in absolutely predictable news, Chris Boucher scored 3 points in 15 minutes. That's with Kalinick still out as well. So yeah, not super strong. The Wizards, there was no Alex Sarr. So Jonas Valanciunas started. Not Rashawn Holmes, but Jonas Valanciunas. How did JV look? The same as always. 5 and 11 in 23 minutes. They just don't really change what he does. Rashawn Holmes was fine. 8 and 5 with 3 assists. But these are the games where you've been holding Valanciunas. Well, now there's a chance. But, it's very hard for me to suggest that he's a must-hold player, Valanciunas. Justin Champagny, 12 and 6, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 71%. He was highlighted on my, trade deadline stash show earlier today. It's going to take a few things for us to get there, but it's a little bit interesting at this point now. I don't mind a stash of him. And it couldn't be a worse game from Jordan Poole. 3 points, no rebounds, no threes, 11%. Still had 2 blocks somehow. That's just a stinker. And then Kyle Kuzma had an empty 19 and 10. This is an absolute Kuzma special. 9, 10, and 10 with no threes, no steals, no blocks, 1 assist, and bad free throws. That's the special. That's what he does. This is why he's annoying to roster. Corey Kispert was like, whatever. Why did I even mention him? Well, Bilal had 8 points and Keyshawn George had 10 in 22 and Carrington had 3 in 23. These guys, Bilal different, you probably hold him, but George and Carrington, they're so far off 12-team league value. Holding on to him is a pretty tough call, and it probably actually ends up being negative overall because, best case scenario, I'm not sure how high that gets you. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. NFL Playoffs, NFL Final Game. That's what it's called. I don't actually think I'm allowed to call it the other thing, but that's okay because the playoffs are here. And if you're looking for tickets, Game Time is the place to go. And with Game Time picks, they've got all of the features. That's just the cherry on top, the icing on the cake. the glazing on the bun? Or is it frosting on the bun? Or is it icing on the bun? It's something, whatever. It's a topper on top of the ice cream cherry sundae topping. Anyway, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff. It shows you the good prices, the good tickets. You've got the views from your seat as well. You've got the absolutely light speed, not quite light speed, but the on-time ticket delivery, the lowest price guarantee. It's all giving you peace of mind, the best result, the best experience when you buy your tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. Let's go down to Miami. Cleveland, they joined us in going down to Miami, and they took on the Heat, and they kicked their ass 126-106. Not a shock, and this was so easy for Cleveland. They just decided to rest Darius Garland before the game. So Garlow was out, LeVert was out, Wade was out, Merrill was out, Okoro was out, and they still cooked them by 20. The guy that moved into the starting lineup, the guy that I placed on Monday's waiver wire show, Jalen Tyson. 30 minutes for Tyson, 4 points, 29%. Ignore that part of the man behind the curtain. We don't need to see that. But he had 5 rebounds. He had 4 assists. More importantly to me here is the trust. They placed that trust in him. Now, when I talked Jalen Tyson on the waiver wire show earlier in the week, you haven't checked it out, check it out. It was about long-term stash ability for Dynasty. That's interesting. The winner soldier, 33 minutes for Max Strus. He only had 8 points and he shot poorly too, but he had 6 assists and he had 3 steals. And with these injuries, I think at the moment you can look at Strus as a 12-team option. Mitchell had 34, and Mobley, we wanted to see him ramp it up a bit, and he did, 22 and 15, and Jarrett Allen had 12 and 10. But what about Milk? Straight from the cow's udder, Ty Jerome has 20 points, 30 minutes, 7 assists, took 18 shots. Now, there are very unique... I did it again. I said the unique thing. There are unique circumstances here. Someone said, there's debate about how we actually use unique, because if you want to break down everything in the world, if you get to a subatomic level, then nothing is ever identical, so there should be levels of uniqueness. I went, that's true, I get it, but also, it's probably not in the spirit of the rules, but that's okay. There's a lot of things happening here. Obviously, Garland, LeVert, Wade, Okoro, Merrill, all of them out. 4 of them might play in the next one, and Milk might play 18. But he's on a real roll again for the second time this season, Ty Jerome. He shot well. He shot often. He added assists. He's at least on the stream zone board while those players are out. After that, I'm not really sure. But again, a weird one. George Niang played 28 minutes. So when you see someone have a big game and you want to get hyped, you go, I love Milk. I'm going to dip my cookie straight into Milk. Right? You love that. And you want to consider it. I love it. And then look around and say, why did George Niang play 28 minutes? Jalen Tyson played 30. Craig Porter played 21. Yeah, something weird happened. Right? There's lots of indicators, but that's a good indicator. I'm not downplaying what Jerome's been doing. He's been very good. And if you want to use him at the moment, you do it. But obviously a bunch of screwy things are happening at the moment with the Cavs and their rotation. Let's go on to the Miami side. They did roll the same starting lineup. So we're going to watch Khalil Ware. Is it Khalil or Kal-El? I hope it's Kal-El, Superman. 29 minutes, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Very, 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 very bad, poor performance. But I also do not care. I am not making a snap judgment. I am not dropping Kal-El Ware after that. That is fine. The minutes were still there. They got cooked, whatever. And I'll say the same for the little chungus, Nikola Jovic. 11, 3, and 5. But he played 29 minutes. I am holding. It was a bit of an explosion. I think Haywood Highsmith had 10 points in 5 minutes. Jimmy Butler was punching air. He ended with 12 points, though, only. With 2 blocks and 2 threes. We don't care about Highsmith. Remember, this is the first game for them out of a 2-game and 7-night period. So, yeah, not many games coming up. But I would still hold Jovic. I would still hold Ware. I'm not interested in Highsmith. And I can't believe what happened, but we actually got Terry Rozier playing well. 22 points, 4 assists, 33 minutes, 62%. Now, the rotations in Miami continue to be confusing. They continue to adjust all the time. You're always going to have the feeling, and I have it too. It's maybe he's back. Maybe he's good. I remember he used to be good, but he hasn't been for 12 months, at least. But the urge is there. I understand that, and I wouldn't fault you for adding him. The other thing that's a bit screwy with this is Jaime Jaquez played only 7 minutes. Top 3 2023 redraft legend Jaime Jaquez, played 7 minutes for 0 points. Now, he missed the last game due to illness. I'm going to guess that is part of it. But also, the question, why would he play those minutes? Not good. That's also one of the reasons. He's not very good. And you know my stance on Jaquez has been very much the same for the last 2 years, especially even now with Butler out. You don't roster Jaime Jaquez in 12-team leagues. You just don't. This 7 minutes a night is not the expectation. It's not what we think they're going to do. I think that illness is a part of it, the blowout, weird rotations, Miami, they do all these things. I don't think we worry that much. Sacramento Kings, Philadelphia 76ers. 117 Philly, 104 Sacramento. The Sixers do it again. Malik Monk does it again. 21, 5, and 8. This guy's getting 8 assists every night. He could actually cook if they trade Malik Monk to a higher level. He'd be one of the best waiver wire pickups we've had. Sabonis had 13, 14, 11, steal and a block, very low usage. And the next thing I want to check is what are DeMar DeRozan's assists? Yeah, this is not changing. 19, 3, and 3. Those 5, 6 assist days for DeRozan are done. It is all Fox and all Monk. Speaking of Fox, what did he do? 19, 8, and 5. Totally reasonable, totally adequate, totally fine, nothing exciting. And then we all go back to check on Keon Ellis, who played 30 minutes last game. Was it due to Keegan Murray being in foul trouble, or did they decide to commit to Keon Ellis? They did not. He played 18 minutes and had 6 points. Cool. So that is what we thought would happen. Ellis is only a stash, waiting to see if there is a trade that gets made to see if he starts, because this role is not enough. It's not enough. He needs more. They are not giving him more. But you've got a week now to wait for the trade deadline to see. Vanderpants came back into the rotation. Kevin Huerter, he had 6 points in 18 minutes, while Keegan also was able to bounce back and play 37. He had 17 and 8. That's pretty good after a disappointing time last time with that foul trouble. On to the Sixers, who still have 2 of their stars not there. No Paul George, no Joel Embiid. Same lineup trotted out there. So let's check on Tyrese Maxey. What is going on with this man? He did this while shooting 17% from 3. 30 points, 8 assists, 50% from the field still. Just made every 2. He has been absolutely dominating. I think there is a sell high, but honestly, only for a top 10 player. Maybe even a top 8 player. He's cooking. Kelly Oubre, 15 and 6 with 4 steals. While these guys are out, no Caleb, no KJ, no George, no Embiid, no Drummond. There's value in him. Absolutely there is. It could drop, but there is value. Yabusele was pretty mid. In fact, very mid. It was a back-to-back for him, but again, it illustrates the idea that there is the only time you even consider it is when there is no Embiid, and there is no way you would consider him when players are available. 9 and 6 in 28 minutes. Justin Edwards started. Ricky Council played more second straight game, so they're going sort of back and forward between those two guys. It is Council's turn now. Rick had 13 in 29 minutes, while Edwards had 9 in 23. Both guys could have some value down the stretch. It is a little long shotty, and you need to wait for some things to break, while both Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon hit 3 triples. Lowry also added 8 assists in what is his best game in about 35 years, I would guess. The next one, it is the Chicago Bulls, my Chicago Bulls, your Boston Celtics. How did my Bulls go? They got cooked. Kobe White started. He was back with Zach LaVine out. Let's start with White. He played 31 minutes. He had 16, 2, and 3. Totally reasonably mid-game. It's fine. There's no defensive stats. It looks fine. It's not great. Please don't tell me, are we getting a Patrick Williams resurgence? I can't. How do I cope with Jaden McDaniels playing well and Patrick Williams bumping up at the same time? I can't deal with it. Patty has 16, 7 rebounds, 3 threes, and a block. Great. Love it. Fantastic. Thank you, Pat. Can you sustain it? I don't believe so, but I'm watching. We also got 22 minutes from Matas Buzelis. Now remember, this is a blowout. This was a big blowout. So there were extra minutes for players. But Buzelis, pretty good. 12 points, 2 threes, 1 block. I would be very interested if they could give him a 30-minute role, but it's not happening yet. Giddey had 10, 4, and 6. Fine. Dosunmu, 12, 4, and 4. Fine. Lonzo Ball, 9, 4, and 4. Less fine, but still fine. And Vooch played only 25 minutes. He had 4 points on 25% with 11 rebounds. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I guess the people who want to comment Vooch on this won't say anything on this one. That's okay. We're good. Vooch is had been playing actually really well over the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's been a roller coaster for him, obviously. Unbelievable highs. a drop off, not ridiculously low, but a drop, and then a little surge again. And this is not a good one, but that's okay. We see what happens. What we also got is the man who graced the cover of my trade deadline stash show, Sticks, Jalen Smith. It's okay to stand by your man. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 23 minutes. It's only useful if Vooch gets injured, fake injured, or traded, but those things can happen. We're a week away from the deadline. This is the time to stick your Smith, stick your Smith, whatever you want to do. Get Jalen Smith onto a roster, sit on him, hold it, and we will see where we go. On to the Boston side of this game as they win at 122-100. Derek White returned. Luke Cornett moved to the bench. Porzingis is killing guys at the moment. 34-11 with 8 threes and 3 steals. He is on an absolute roll. You would love to cash that in if you could, but I'm not sure that anyone's giving you enough value on it. And then Peyton Pritchard. Yeah, let's go. Back to big games, maybe, hopefully. 10, 2 and 7, 2 steals and a block. Contributing right across the board. Still, he took only 6 shots. Only 6. The minutes are up, and I'm going to be a bit skeptical. Interesting, Derek White played 40 minutes in a game they won by 22. Seems a bit not right. But Derek had been struggling. At least he was pretty good here. And then Jalen had 28, 6 and 6. And Tatum, that's a second sort of slow game in a row for Tatum. 16, 8 and 5. I wouldn't be shocked if a day off is coming. Speaking of days off and coming, Drew Holiday had 6 points in 23 minutes with 3 assists. I don't think we need to look at him as a must roster guy. I don't. He's had, obviously, lots of good seasons. We've waited all year. It hasn't really happened apart from like a 2 or 3 week stretch. I don't think we need to hold. Well, the package, Jaden Springer, 4 points only. We know he's a bad shooter, but 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He's really interesting. He's just a name to monitor, Springer, for those deeper leagues in particular. We will do the next game here. It is the New York Knickerbockers and the Denver Nuggets. The Knicks win 122-112, and it actually happened in Denver. Now, who knows if this is an ongoing decision, but I talked at length about my skepticism about Christian Brown and saying that I think that when Aaron Gordon does start, that it will be Brown that moves to the bench and not Westbrook, and it actually happened today. I didn't have any idea that it would happen now. So let's check on what the minutes look like. Well, it was about the same for Brown. 29 minutes, 13 and 5, no defensive stats, shot pretty well. That is a reasonable game. If you've got him and you like him, you hold him. But I would say that is a negative sign that he moved to the bench. Watson did absolutely nothing in his 19 minutes, while Gordon got to 30 minutes. 15 and 6, pretty good game. Shot well, 86%, but again, he's still realistically just a back-end play. If he's available, now that he's starting, you want to go at him, go for it. I don't think you miss out much if you did drop him, though. Jokic got into early foul trouble, 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes or so, and that limited his playing time. In the end, he got 33 minutes, 17, 6, and 6, but the headmaster stepped up. Jamal Murray had 33, 5, and 6, and Westbrook had 14, 14, and 4. Wasn't enough, though. Not enough to get it done against this absolute juggernaut New York Knicks team. They had the same starting lineup again. Let's do a Josh Hart minutes check, 34. So after that game where he played those insane minutes on the sore knee, both games have come down since then. 15, 5, and 5 with 3 steals for Hart. Still very good. Brunson was awesome, 30 and 15 assists and 2 steals, while Towns had 14 and 10, and the Jedi OG Anunoby had 23 points, while Mikal Bridges, pretty disappointing, 13 on 16 shots. His minutes, again, always, I don't know what it is, but they're seemingly keeping him below OG and a lot of other guys. It's not like they're low, 37 minutes is huge. But instead of the 40 he was getting earlier, he's like 35 at the moment. And it's worth noting. We also got 26 Big Sneeze minutes. Precious Achiuwa had 8 points in his 26 minutes. He's at least somewhat streamable in deeper formats, with the way that things currently sit. All right, the next game. What an absolutely gigantic scoring game here. The Mavericks beat the Pelicans 137-136. Another absolute monster Daniel Gafford game. 34 minutes, 22 and 12, 4 blocks, 100% shooting, 100% from the line as well. Ridiculous. This is one of those things where there's a lot of luck involved. And I say that as someone who rostered Daniel Gafford, and then I dropped him because he was playing 15 minutes a night, and that's annoying. I'm annoyed. All right, that is annoying. But he was not playing. He was doing very little, and then every center all went down at the same time, and now look where we are. Huge stuff. Paul Washington Jr. also cooked. 25, 14, and 8 with 4 threes. Now, we know that we're going to get Gattuso'd on this one so many times. It's going to happen often. But that's okay. He's in a large position here, large role. Irving had 25, 9, and 6, and it was a second solid game from Clay. I'm not moved by it. I consider him in the Malik Beasley sort of a points and threes guy. Makes sense, but also doesn't in a lot of spots. But he's playing better, and that's a big W. And Dinwiddie had 11, 4, and 7 in those 28 minutes. What we got was Najee Marshall very limited. I don't know what illness he had. Black Plague, maybe something. I don't know. But limited to 15 minutes of his illness. He had 5 points in 15. We don't roster him. And then Grimes was solid. 20 minutes, but 17 points. I don't trust Quentin Grimes to be a 20 or 17-point scorer. He shot 75% and do it in 20 minutes. So I'm not going to overreact or react really at all to Grimes putting up a game like that or suggesting he needs to be added outside of your deeper formats. The Pelicans side of it. Narrow loss, which helps their lottery odds, obviously. Let's start with Zion. The biggest bird had 29 in 28 minutes. He had 7 assists. He had 2 steals. He shot well from the line and the field. He is absolutely rolling at the moment. It's not quite actual peak Zion that we were promised, but it's a glimpse. It's a glimpse of, if it works, what we can get. This is a huge run. Trey Murphy had 32, 6, and 4 with 5 threes. I actually think that if Zion could somehow, like I said the other day, I'll repeat it because people liked it, get his face out of the BBLs, right? That a Murphy and Zion pairing as a 1-2 is elite. It can be absolutely elite. The problem is that even Missy doesn't make sense with these guys. Missy played 29 minutes, so that's more of it. He went scoreless. He had 4 blocks, good for him. He had 7 rebounds. I don't think he's a must-roster player, though. DeJounte had 27, 5, and 6, and we're going to do our daily, semi-daily, bi-daily is probably not right, view of the CJ McCollum stat line. What did we get? What nonsense was included? 23 points, so that's normal. 3 threes, okay. 3 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 43 from the field, 100 from the... Oh my God, it is a normal game. There's nothing crazy. He had 1 turnover. It's unbelievable. A regular, normal game. Well, you know what they say. I actually don't know what they say because I've never been confronted with this before. Solid game. We actually got BJ in this one, but that was because Jordan Hawkins was out. He was out with an illness. We got Boston in, 12 points, 4 steals, 21 minutes, expected DNP until they can figure out how to fully convert him into that full-time contract. We don't look at him as a 12-team league player, Boston, at this point, but at least he was back in action. And yeah, well, and I'm guessing it's because Hawkins was unavailable in this game. The next game, the Clippers, how are they this good? One of the biggest over-under misses that I had this season was the Clippers. I didn't think they could be this good at all. And they've just been ridiculous. 128, 116 on the road against the Spurs. Kawhi Leonard looks back to being like elite. He's always been elite and he takes a bit of time to ramp up. The concern with Kawhi was never, I'm not drafting him because he's not good. It's that I don't trust him to be healthy and when he's going to come back. And that obviously, that was true. But he had 27, 6, and 7 on 58% shooting. Elite stuff. Zubats, and now he can hit free throws again. Another 100% night, 21 and 22 for him. He has been, again, one of those guys that I thought could have a breakout, but not to this level. Is it still a W if you predict a breakout? You look to target guys like Jalen Johnson, but I didn't think he'd be that good last season. Or targeting Dyson Daniels, didn't think he'd be this good, but thought he was absolutely someone to grab. Targeting Zubats, didn't think he'd be this good. Like, is it still a W if you say, hey, maybe in the 80s, and then he's the 30th best player? I think it is, but I don't know how to judge that. No. In the end, it doesn't really matter. But Zubats was great. Storm and Norman, again. Yeah, grab him. Like, he's got a real good opportunity. No one thought this. You know what? I won't speak for everybody. I didn't think he could be this good. 27 points for Powell in 37 minutes. Now, it is empty across the other areas, and the usage remains a little bit lower, which were always the concerns, but the shooting was elite. 60%, great game. And Jimmy Harden had 21, 3, and 12. And since Kawhi is back, Jim has been rocketing back up the ranks. He is now a top 10 player over the last 2 weeks and 10th overall for the season. And he had downturned. Derek Jones continues to get good minutes. I don't think he's anything more than a streamer, though. 7 points and 7 rebounds with 2 steals. The steals are nice. The rebounds are solid. The minutes are great. And this is while Chris Dunn is out. But I don't think you need to go overboard with with Jones. You can use him when the schedule works. Use it when that makes sense. But otherwise, not a must roster. Kevin Porter sucks. He had 9 points. And Terrence Mann had 11 minutes for nothing. Great. Good for him. Should we talk about the San Antonio Wimbies? We should. this team could obviously get upended at the trade deadline if De'Aaron Fox does come across in a deal. Who knows? I'll just, if you're going to bet whether it's going to happen, I'll say no, because that's generally a pretty safe way to go about it. Let's talk Wemby. They came back from France. He played 35 minutes. He had 23, 12, 3 threes, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 4 assists. And you look at that and you go, that's very ho-hum. Wemby, can you do something better? That's how good he is. Like, that's ho-hum. Steph Castle, big game. He'd had a real couple quiet ones here, but very good scoring. 20 points, 2 steals, 2 threes. The worry I'm having with Castle, now, again, baseline is I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's a very good prospect. That is my baseline on Castle. So understand that. We all have certain biases. And again, I don't really like the word bias because it's just an opinion. Am I biased for having an opinion? Nobody is. Me being like a hater would say, yeah, but me being biased would say, Wemby, look what are you doing, man? I've seen Ball do that. That's bias against Wemby. My issue with Castle is that he's doing these things with these really high usage, which I'm not really sure will ever be his game. His efficiency still remains bad, even though it was good in this one. But there's always just like not enough rebounds. He doesn't get enough assists. There's nothing else to sort of cover it through. And that's what always worries me, that like we see the DeAndre Hunter story. You need these random pop-off games to provide value, but then you have the other ones where you shoot 30% and it just looks like garbage. That's my worry. But obviously really good. Good little schedule period coming for the Spurs here as well. So, while he starts over Sohan, and I do still believe that Sohan's going to get back into the starting lineup, but maybe there's also the chance that maybe he doesn't. As for Sohan, 7 points. No rebounds is trash, obviously, but he had 4 assists, he had 2 steals, he had a block. I would be holding him for now. Chris Paul's got definite scope to get better from here, a bit of a buy low, 7-1-7, and it was a really rough shooting night from Vassell. He shot 41 from the field. That's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. But then 2 of 5 from the line, sorry. Also, Sandro Mamakilishvili is in the rotation now. 4 minutes for him, 2 points. Just be aware of that he is getting rotation minutes. And Champagny, not really. Neither is Keldon Johnson, who played 25. They're getting minutes, so my bad. They're just not getting large enough minutes. Champagny played 14 and Keldon played 25. But not much in terms of takeaways there from this one. All right, the second last game of the day, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Phoenix Suns. Really, really good game. Big win for the Wolves here. 121-113 is your final score. Minnesota wins it. I don't know if I even said that. The Wolves rolled out the same starting lineup. They did have Naz Reid out. The Wizard of Noz was unavailable with an illness, so that is it's notable. Goose was great. 33, 7 and 5 for Anthony Edwards. He played 40 minutes. He had 5 assists. He had 2 steals. He had 4 blocks. He was elite with his field goal percentage and his free throws. One of the best games that he has had. That is a huge performance, and so was Julius Randle. 28, 7 and 6 with 3 steals. You don't get 3 steals from Randle often, nor do you get 80% from the line. Just massive performances from both of those guys. We wanted to check on Jaden McDaniels. Has he really figured it out? Maybe. He played 37 minutes. He got ejected right at the end. But 14 and 6 with 2 threes, 2 steals is fine. It's good. I'm very skeptical still. But he is worth having absolutely for now. Conley played 30 minutes, barely took a shot. The 6 assists are nice. He's definitely a 14-team league guy. I think you can have him in 12s, but again, it's not really for points leagues. It's more for category leagues. And Dillingham had 8 points in 15 minutes. Gobert only had 4 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 2 blocks. Definitely not his best game at all. But we got a lot of minutes from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. No Reed, no DiVincenzo. So Alexander Walker played 35. He was great. 23 points, 57% shooting, 5 threes. We don't rely upon this like at all. I wouldn't consider him in 10 or 12-team leagues. Maybe you go 14, but even then he's really been nowhere near it all season. This was a very good performance though. The Phoenix side is probably a little bit more interesting because, there are interesting things there. Kevin Durant was questionable before the game with a thumb issue. He played through that. He ended up with 40 minutes, 33 points, 4 threes, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. It's a ridiculous Durant game. They have gone so far away from the Budenholzer management principles, though. It's interesting to see. Booker, 41 minutes, 28, 4 and 8. Big games from those guys. Everyone else, not that good. Although, to be fair, Beal put up okay numbers. Brattles had 17 points. He had 6 assists. He got a steal, but he played 25 minutes only, and that's frustrating. We hold him for now and we see what happens. And this was a game where they marginalized Tyus Jones. Under 24 minutes, 5 points, 3 assists, and that's been happening very often. I am firmly of the belief that if you want to have Tyus Jones on a 12-team roster, it's okay. But I'm also firmly of the belief that his upside is not high enough that if you need to make moves and he is your worst player, you feel all right moving on. And that streaming that spot in, if he is your worst player, gives you better results. Grayson Allen had 11 in 29. He had 7 rebounds with 3 threes. Pretty good game. Interestingly enough, they kept Royce O'Neal starting even with Ryan Dunn back. Dunn played 9 minutes. If you rostered Dunn when he was starting and you wanted to see what would happen, I get it.
Get that garbage out of here.
Do that. Royce O'Neal played 32 minutes with Dunn back, which is interesting. And with Dunn and with Jones, let's talk it. Dunn, O'Neal, Beal, Allen, when everyone's there, it's really hard for Dunn to play enough. But that's also part of the Tyus Jones thing, is that if all those guys are going to play and Booker can run as a point guard, this has always been my issue with Jones on this team, is that I don't think they need him. And when guys are healthy, they need him even less. So we'll see where this goes. But of course, trades can happen. They probably will happen. Nurkic remains a complete DNP, and that didn't happen. Let's check on the Nick Richards is only a shit team merchant. 7 and 5 in 25 minutes. Yeah, checks out. I know it won't happen. I know people aren't going to be flooding the comments to say, yep, you know what, Josh, I thought he was good, but he's not. It won't. And that's cool as well. But again, he's not good. He will have big games. Nick Richards will have big games against bad teams. It will happen. He will have the occasional spike game, but he is doing basically what we saw him do all of last season. Pretty close to what he was doing the start of this season, as a very mid-level center. A guy that's the back end of your roster. He had 7 and 5. It's a great lesson. The story's not written. The book is not closed on Nick Richards at all. But it's a great lesson of getting overhyped. Every time he starts, it's a double-double. He gets 2 blocks. He's going to be a league winner. Like, settle down. It doesn't matter if it's Richards or if it's somebody else. Even if I said something like that, I'd be trying to tell myself to settle down if I remembered to. It's just an unlikely scenario. It's all fun to get excited, but always in those spots. If you can do it, you do it. You add, you get ahead of it, go for it. But it's about, who do you drop? Which guy did you move on from to try out this new wonder that's just been buried so long? He could have a great game next time. Absolutely he could. Easily. Very easily. But he could also just be bad. Again. Because, again, the real-life play of Nick Richards is that he's not good. And there are going to be these games that pop up pretty semi-regularly, I think. All right, there's one game to go, and I'm not actually going to fully cover this final game because I do have to head out. But I will tell you where we're up to. It's about 8 minutes left in the final quarter here. The Thunder doing Thunder things. There's not really anything to talk about with the Thunder. Shea is absolutely dominating, as per usual. Dort's doing nothing. Wallace, the Hong Kong mattress, Carson Wallace, he's got 2 steals. He's doing his thing, but not much else there. The Warriors is where it gets interesting because they made more lineup changes. Quentin Post started over Trace Jackson-Davis. He's currently played 8 minutes. Kevon Looney started the second half. Yep, he's played 16 minutes. Jackson-Davis is a DNP. You can drop Trace Jackson-Davis. They moved Gary Payton in over Moses Moody. Moody has played 14 minutes for 5 points. We're not rostering him outside of like 16 teamers. We don't roster Payton, even though he had 9 and 8 so far. Steph is in a huge slump. You continue to look at him as a bit of a buy low option. Heel doing nothing. Schroeder doing nothing. Brendan Pajewski has 7 points in 11 minutes. So we thought we were getting momentum, but this is just getting Steve Kerr, isn't it? We've got Wiggins who's producing. We've got Steph who's not producing, but at least doing enough. And then nobody. It's Healed, no. Pajemski, maybe, but also no. Jackson-Davis, no. Post, no. Moody, no. Santos Alhelper, no. Draymond Green, no. None of them. No one's doing anything. It's just all consistent rotation of guys. And you can't really bang down anything. I would hope we got a really consistent game from Pajemski. We did not. At least unless he goes absolutely bananas in these final 6 minutes, it's not going to happen. So we're at that stage where you're dropping Pajemski. Well, you don't have to have Pajemski. You drop Hield, you drop Schroeder, you drop Jackson-Davis without any questions at all. And we just sit here and get annoyed and laugh and all that stuff. Like I said, I have to get out of here. But I hope you guys have a croissant on me. Get freaky with it. Almond croissant. The best one, very clearly. Chocolate croissants, get in the bin. I like chocolate. I just don't like chocolate infiltrating my other sweets. Chocolate is chocolate. Other stuff, I keep it that way. That's how I like it. All right. You know what to do. You thumb it up, you bang, you comment, you subscribe, you go check out the live trade deadline show Thursday, February the 6th at 1 p.m. Guys, we are done here, but we're not done yet because I haven't told you to keep it rosy, keep it positive, keep it realistic. But realistic is also acknowledging that you're not bad and you did something good, because we all do something good every day. Always remember that. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.